Right. So we're just going to kick off where we left off yesterday. Welcome again to everyone. We're still on the facilitator course. We all know the class rules by now. Okay, so yesterday we stopped. We were busy having a discussion regarding developing the lesson plans. We were busy going through all the sequence. So the next step where we left off is the content is then identified. On this basis of the task to be taught, content is selected in answer to the question, what does the learner need to know to achieve this outcome or to perform this task, prior to include that content that will assist the learner to become most useful in the least amount of time. We still covered this part yesterday. This is just to give you guys a refreshment. Okay, now sequencing. Of the units, all of the units needs to be reviewed and modified as required. Here, the sequence could be adjusted to prevent learners from having to sit in one place for long periods of time, and to avoid variety through various stations of facilitation procedures. So at this stage of your development of your lesson plan, you can then start outlining your sequence. This will help or just assist the learners. Remember now, as I've said yesterday, you start off with an icebreaker and you need to have breaks also in between your lessons. Sorry, so this is where you put your entire plan into a sequence. Now, with the time that you've allocated for the certain modules that you're going to present, with your tea breaks, with your lunch breaks, in everything, this is now the final part. Then learning plans are then completed. So after we've done the sequence, your entire lesson plan that you've created is completed, because the final step is to put all the information that you received and all the content and everything into a sequence. How you're going to present it, allocate the resources, and allocate the duration of each section or task that you're going to perform. Then there's your lesson plans developed and completed. Adjustments are made to ensure continuously from one learner to the next, to ensure that the learner is always informed of where he or she is and how far he or she has come, to ensure that the learner spends as much time as possible engaged in activities directly relevant to the outcomes of the learning program, and to ensure that the procedures selected can actually be implemented with the time and facilities available. So you can still remember now your plan that you develop for one course or for one group of people. You're not going to use the same plan for the next group. Everything revolves around your learners. So every time your participants change, you need to develop a new plan. Because remember, what may work for one learner might not work for the other learner. So we constantly need to adjust our facilitation. We constantly need to review our facilitation and our methods. This way, we can ensure that the skills transfer between yourself and the participants is at the most successful level as possible. This is why we have lesson plans. Program plan template. So this is just a template that I'm going to show you. And let me just explain to you how this works. So firstly, on the first column, we have a learning activity unit. We have the facilitator activity, the learner activity, the time, and resources. First of all, learning activity unit. Let's say you're going to start off with module 1. You put in there module 1 under learning activity unit. Under facilitator activity, what is the activity that you're going to do? What method are you going to use? So you can put there, let's take, for instance, a course, let's say first aid, how to perform CPR, that's your module 1. The facilitator activity would be demonstrate on a medical doll or a mannequin how to perform first aid. That's what you're going to present. That's the activity that you're going to do for your participants. Then, what is the activity that the learners needs to do? So what do you want the learner to do in that module 1, in that activity? What activity do you want them to do? You want them to demonstrate how to perform CPR. What is the time that you're going to allocate for the unit or for that module? You can say 2 hours or 1 hour. What are the type of resources that you require? First of all, we need a mannequin, a medical doll, and we also need a first aid kit with some hard copy materials that we need to hand over to our participants. That's just a example that I'm giving. It depends on the course that you're going to facilitate. So it's deviates. Know always that you always start with your learning activity unit. What is it? Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5, or Unit 6. Then you identify what are you going to demonstrate to your learners. What is the activity that you're going to put in place? Is it going to be a PowerPoint presentation? Is it going to be a demonstration? Is it going to be a discussion? Or is it going to be a case study? It depends on the course that you're going to facilitate. Then you identify what activity the learners needs to conduct, whether it's in a form of a written test, whether it's a form of a demonstration, whether it's a form of a group discussion even. You always put it in there under learner activity. Most importantly, allocate a time frame for that activity. So if you have allocated 30 minutes, ensure that you stick to the 30 minutes and everything is covered in that 30 minutes for the unit. And then identify the type of resources you are going to require for the unit to conduct the facilitation on. The learning program plan should be taught as a guide to the way students and instructors will spend the day rather than as a document that precisely dictates what must happen during each instructional minute. It is almost impossible to make precision predictions about the amount of time required to reach each objective. Therefore, this facilitation plan should contain a great deal of flexibility. Emphasis should be placed on the outcomes of the facilitation rather than rightly specifying the procedures that must be followed throughout the learning day. So it's very difficult to give 100% accurate time frame or duration on each objective or each module that you're going to spend. But if you allocate a certain amount of time, then you know, okay, this is a certain amount of time I have. Now I can work around that time that I have allocated for that section or module. You could always make a predictions. Remember, like I've said, it's nearly impossible because really it depends on your participants. How flexible are they? What are their current knowledge? Are they understanding what you are busy presenting to them? If not, then your time spent on that module would be longer. So everything revolves around your participants. Just a heads up. Once you start facilitating, you see, once you start your class, you would quickly pick up that you're going to spend more time with certain learners. So then you can still adjust your facilitation. This is what we call a facilitator conducts an ongoing assessment. So what you're basically doing, you are continuously testing their knowledge. You're continuously testing what are they taking in. Are they uh, are they participating in the facilitation, or are they just sitting there in the classroom because they must sit there? Charge for choosing audio and visual materials or material. Charge for choosing audio and visual materials. Visual supports for a learning style system is relevant if it causes learning to happen. Irrelevant or unnecessary if it does not. Therefore, the selection of visual aids for a presentation must work in conjunction with the facilitator's objective and his knowledge of his audience. So again, what they're basically saying here is choosing an inappropriate audio or visual material for your facilitation can lead to a negative. Remember now, if you do not use appropriate visual aids, this is now, if we talk about visual aids, it's a projector or is it flip chart or chalkboard. If it's not appropriate for the course that you are going to facilitate, then it might have a very negative outcomes for both you and the learners. Again, you focus everything on the current knowledge of your audience or your participants before choosing an audio or a visual material for your facilitation. Different forms of visual aids available. We're going to go through them. When facilitators are confronted with the problem with what visual aids they might employ, they face several questions. What kind of equipment are available? What are the advantages and disadvantages of each? Are there any special maintenance requirements? All right, sorry. So these are questions that you might ask yourself. If you're going to do a facilitation and you go to a venue, first thing, you have a look at the venue, you have a look at the space, you have a look at, is there ventilation? Does it comply with the normal occupational health and safety regulations? Then you need to see what is available. Are there tables and chairs available? Is there an overhead projector available? Is there electricity available? Then you start analyzing it. What would be the advantage if I use an overhead projector? What would be the disadvantage? And then you're going to start weighing up between which visual aid overpowers the disadvantage. Are there any special maintenance requirements? Some visual aids do require special maintenance. A projector also, it's one of them. They need to be serviced. They need to be checked by a technician. Have a look at their lenses. Some of the older projectors, the bulb tends to go, so it's all those things that you need to take into consideration. Written material. Written material, obviously, good written material, plentiful supply. This can come in forms such as handout, manual books, magazine, maps, charts, graphics,